everybody. Welcome to Lunchtime with Construction Ready and Kayleen McCabe. So happy you're able to join us today. I'm very, very excited about this week's episode because, well, I have a few cool things to geek out with and about. And unfortunately, I don't have a co-host to join me this week, but I do have some really cool video that I shot at the SkillsUSA National Championship in Atlanta, Georgia a few weeks ago. And before I get started with that footage, I want to take a quick second, like I normally do, to geek out about something pretty cool. So this week, because I don't have a co-host, I'm going to geek out about two very cool things. The first thing is a few weeks ago, I came across a company that is really changing the way construction is going to be done in the future. Trimble Technologies is a lot of high-end stuff. They gave me a robot, which I would show you, but I actually melted the robot at my adventure in Atlanta. But they did let me borrow to show off this is an augmented reality hard hat. And this is where things are actually going to be changing on the job site a lot. On this hard hat is mounted a Windows 10 computer. And that gives me the ability then, when I drop my visor down, to actually interpret not only the surroundings around me, but I can virtually control a list of menu options that I can pull up on my hands. I can overlay blueprints that are on the job site into where I'm at. And in the future, I'll be able to actually have conference calls just like this. Well, heck, maybe one day we will do a lunch with Sefka on a job site and I will actually be video conferencing from this. Again, the technology, I'm just so used to having a regular hard hat. And now this can measure a room while I wear it. I can't imagine the future where our young students are not going to be actually carrying around a tape measure or a chalk box.
Wait a minute. Go back to you melted your robot. How'd you melt your robot, Kayleen?
I melted my robot because it was about 115 in Atlanta and I was walking it outside up a hill and I melted the components. And so my robot's name is Rita, which was not short for Margarita after it melted a little bit, but I've shipped it back to the company. The company's name's Jita, and hopefully in a few weeks I will have my own. It looks like a little BB-8 from Star Wars or sort of an R2-D2. And that component with that is actually used where we can now, that will follow us around. It will carry about 20 pounds, but also too, you can put surveying equipment on it or near it. And so it will track a job site. Just like with this hard hat, they also have another robot that is the Boston Dynamics dog. And they put hardware on this similar to this, where the dog walks the job site at the end of the day and can actually show safety concerns if things are open, but it'll also show you, let's say you're making a highway. It'll show you how much dirt you've moved in a day. And so it's so awesome that I get to hang out with folks like Construction Ready, where we're getting people involved in the trades to be very excited about this opportunity, but then also the technology is matching where we're at right now. And so I'm pretty excited to get to travel with my new hard hat. I haven't figured it out, but I've talked to a few kids, and because it is a Windows computer, it runs everything on Windows. I can actually watch some movies while doing this. Not something you should do on a job site. So that's my first thing to geek out. Well, first and a half, because the robot's pretty cool, but when I have a robot up and going, we'll definitely geek out about that one. But the second thing I want to geek out about is actually related to SkillsUSA Nationals. SkillsUSA Nationals, it's actually SkillsUSA, and this was the national competition. And so before I begin, it's a national competition from all 50 states, even Puerto Rico and Guam. And these students are competing in 108 different competitions. But one of the things we do there is we trade pins from all different places. And so I've been able to go to the national competition for a few years. And this is my very, very proud pin collection that I've amassed over the last few years. And so as you watch the video, you're going to see that I'm wearing a lanyard with a lot of pins. That's actually this year's pins that I haven't had time to attach yet. But this is kind of a humble brag. I got to geek out about this a little bit. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and start to play the video that I shot while at SkillsUSA Nationals. It's a pretty awesome opportunity to get to use this platform to share what we're seeing. And so in the end of June, We were here in Atlanta, Georgia at the World Congress Center. And what we're seeing right now is the masonry competition. There are 108 different competitions at this event. Not all of them have to do with construction. However, this video that we're going to see is in Building A of the World Congress Center, where we had about 15, maybe up to 30 different construction-related trade competitions. So this masonry thing that we're seeing here, everybody competing is going to be the best in their state. And so they had to go to like local competitions to state and then to here. They picked this design this year because they wanted A for Atlanta. The students only have 6 hours to complete this project. They're given a set of blueprints and then all the material that they'll need, except for a tinder, which in the world of masonry, you usually work in pairs. There's the mason who sets the block, and we're gonna pan back and say hi to some cool, cool friends from Massachusetts. It is definitely like a big adult summer camp with everybody. It's nice to see not only the students hanging out, but then also the adults are so happy to be there. And this entire competition is run and staffed by volunteers. So these students have 3 hours to start, then they take a 30-minute lunch break, and then they come back for another 3 hours, and they have to complete this. Now we're gonna pan over on the other side here, and what we're showing off is going to be the welding sculpture competition. If you wanna see more in-depth and up close of this competition, you can actually go to my Facebook page and look at some of the other videos I shot at this event. This competition has no time limit. So students for the last year, or probably two, because we did have sort of an odd year with COVID, are creating welding sculptures that are judged. They're beautiful pieces of art. We've come back across the aisle, and this is actually my personal favorite competition. This is called Teamworks. Teamworks is a competition of 4 students. You have a framer or a carpenter, a plumber, electrician, and a mason. In 2 days, these students actually have to complete this build. And as you can see, this build is incredibly difficult. There's 2 layers on the inside. Inside, there's also a set of stairs. It's a slow sloped pitch to the roof. And then eventually they will also add on an awning that they have to put shingles on. On the inside, they also have to plumb. I believe for a sink, they also have to run the electric for electric panel, and they also have to put up masonry on the outside. Showing off here some of the amazing sponsors that help make the event happen. And so students who are competing, and there were about 9,000 students this year, on their off time can come through the center aisle or our Texpo and check out some really cool products, check out cutting edge thing as far as, I don't know, maybe also careers. All the students that you see here too, not only have top-notch skills, but they also have to have a resume. So there's a lot of leadership that goes on involved to be here. On this side, this is going to be our MIG and TIG welding. All the competitions you see here are going to be for high school and post-secondary. And so while there are some competitions for middle schools, these kind of more technical are for the bigger kids. And when I say bigger kids, we've had a post-secondary competitor that was 92. So it's pretty awesome to see the variety of folks. So you're never too old to learn anything. As you can see, this conference center is absolutely enormous. We actually took up all 3 buildings for this convention, as well as all the meeting space. So over 1 million square feet, SkillsUSA took over, which is pretty awesome. You put on a lot of steps that day. And let's see, maybe we pan back a little to, I don't know, I was still figuring out how to work my camera. On this side, we have, looks like sheet metal. And so students, again, were given blueprints and have to follow that then to create whatever they're supposed to. And they don't have any lead time. They're actually given the blueprints the day of. Panning on over, this is going to be the cabinet making section. And we're zooming in on what the students had to complete in 1 day. They had 1 day to put this together, which is a very complicated build. As you can see, it's going to be a floating box in a skeleton sort of structure. The box was made with plywood, and there's a big machine in the center of this area that is actually a professional edge bander. So the fact that students get to check this out before they go work at a factory is amazing. And then the second species, I believe, was a Padauk, or I don't know, it was definitely a unique species that I was not quite familiar with. I'm very lucky I've been able to attend this event as well as keynote it, and then also go to the World Skills competition multiple times. So the technical chair there was kind enough to let me sneak into the floor and check it out. And so it's awesome. So all of our competitions are run by volunteers. And chatting here that I am interviewing is one of my awesome friends, but also he's the technical chair. And so imagine this. There are 108 competitions. There's a technical chair for each one. And then all those others have a judge underneath them. And so the amount of volunteers it takes is absolutely beyond tremendous. And so we're going to take a quick tour of this, because not only do the volunteers help out and then also judge, but they are making sure that all of our students and competitors are safe, but then also get anything else they need. So there's a lot of stuff we have to keep track of, making sure that kids eat. You'd be surprised. They've been practicing all year and there's a lot of nerves. And so sometimes there is a bit of a, a bit of a nerve, and folks forget to drink some water. So all of the tools, well, I'm going to say most of the big tools that you see, especially even that big edge bander behind us, have been donated by companies. And so these are tools that will be used year after year. That includes all the saw stops that the competitors get to use. They also have DeWalt miter saws, which is awesome. But think about this. It is also a tremendous amount of space that it takes up. It takes almost 35 semi-trailers to get all of the products just for competition to the competition floor. In the other halls, we also have commercial baking, so there are ovens and refrigerators. We also have massage tables and masseuses, places to do facials. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into this. This is such a treat, actually, to be able to show some of the student competitors up close. The event is open to the public. Highly encouraged that you attend next year. We will be around right after Father's Day in June at the same location. But normally, you're kind of kept on the outside of the barrier because we don't want them to be distracted. But some of the stuff is just too cool to show off, especially this edge bander here. This is cutting edge, top of the line. And I love the fact that some of these students are in high school programs where maybe they only have a very old saw that's been around since, who knows, maybe the 70s. So to get to use technology like this really opens up their eyes to see what other possibilities there are. This project was, also a bit complicated because it was using a lot of joinery. So there we see DeWalt has been so incredibly kind with their miter saw donations, as well as SawStop, because they do have the technology. I don't want to chop any students' fingers off. But with this build, we also had routers and sanders, because a router, sanders, and a biscuit joiner. I take that back. So 3 tools to get that piece attached, which, again, pulling this off in, let's see, competition started at 8 and it ended at 3 o'clock. These kids are cooking. I'm very, very impressed. So again, all the tools you see on the tables were actually donated by companies for the students to use. But then in some of the moments on the outside of the competition floor, there are full tables talking about what first, second, and third place winners receive. And usually it is quite a setup. I know every competitor in the Teamworks competition actually walked away with a full Stanley Black & Decker multi-tool set. Look, we see some of these kids with their frames up already, and that joinery for this cabinet build, the way that the frame or the box is actually sitting in the frame, those are tapered legs, and that's a tough cut to make. Normally you would make a slide and use your table saw to do that. Some of these students are just using a skill saw or the chop saw. I'm sorry, the table saw. So it's very, very complicated, and the level of technique is off the charts. What's also really cool is seeing that we have now men and women of all ages competing in our competitions. And I know when I started construction many years ago, there weren't many other females hanging around. And this year, we had a great representation for everybody all the way around. This beauty of a clock that we're coming in on, it's been traveling with the national competition for years. It's the official clock to let everybody know what the time is. But honest to goodness, I mean, you can tell there's, once 3 o'clock starts coming around, it gets either really noisy or really quiet because these students are exhausted. So outside of the competition and them actually performing their tasks, these students will have to come in early, submit their resume. They have to do a job interview. With this, and I also believe teamwork, the students have to look at their plans and blueprints and then present a grocery list on what materials that they will need. So the students aren't just showing that they can use tools, they're also demonstrating that they're leaders, that they can communicate, that they have the ability to think beyond just the shop, that they really are, well, these are kind of prepping our next level of business owners in the craft professional sector. So as again, you can see, this is a gigantic setup. I mean, they take up a ton of space. And this is the first year that Nationals has been in Atlanta. The last 5 years we were in Louisville, Kentucky, and we had about maxed out that space. And so we're very, very fortunate to be in Atlanta for the next 5 years, because as you can see, while there are a ton of competitors, there is a bit more room where we can actually spread out, have more competitors come join us. This year was a little bit, let's see, lower or slower than years in the past, but we are coming back after COVID. This is our first in-person event since 2019 was the last sort of opportunity we had. So again, some of our awesome sponsors, have to say a big shout out and a hello. That was the Bessie Tool Booth. They are board members on the McCabe Foundation. So good friends, but also a great product. And for all of our fans watching, and if you're a woodworker, you'll get this. You will never, ever, ever own enough clamps. I don't think that there will be a day when I don't go to the store and think, you know, I don't need a clamp. So I always need one. But this is a great space for not only the students, but also parents to check out what technology is around, but also all the companies here are also hiring. So a lot of great information that students can actually receive during this event, not just showing off and networking with friends from other states. So we're going to continue down this way, kind of a bit of a repeat on how humongous the sections are. Gosh, over on this side, sheet metal again, which is impressive. So all the green machines you see in the background, those are called brakes. And again, a piece of equipment that is hard to drag around, but they managed to do it to give these students an authentic experience. And that's the point. Everything is as authentic and real as it can be. In the other buildings, we had automotive. And so students were able to work on full-size diesel trucks, motorcycles, boats. Over here in the heating and ventilation air conditioning competition, those were real units. And when the student had completed the project, it was cranking out AC, which was awesome because I'm from Colorado and Atlanta a few weeks ago was bonkers hot and humid. So that was like the coolest part, literally and figuratively, of that area. Over here, we're coming into plumbing. So as you can see, students here are going to use both styles of PVC. They also have to sweat pipe to set a sink. And then let's see, it looks like they also have down below, they are plumbing in for a toilet. They also have a Studer vent or some sort of venting. And then, hey, Matthew White, he is an awesome employee of Construction Ready. So it was great to see all the Construction Ready folks around hanging out, supporting all of their Georgia competitors, because there was quite a few, which was pretty impressive. Again, all of these events, and down here, all these vendors also have pins that you can trade. Some of them, like NCCER and Build Your Future, had a game where you could step inside a booth, grab a bunch of money, fake money, and then spend things on prizes that you wanted. Some of the students, you know, there's a lot of different levels, and especially with it being a COVID year, last year we did have the national competition, but it was all virtual. And so this year, it being in person, in some states, there might have only been one student that wanted to compete. at state. And so they made it to nationals. So there's a variety of competitors and different levels, but it's an experience all the way around. If you don't get gold and win first place, it really doesn't matter, because the overall and arching experience of nationals is well worth it. Again, this is why I talk on camera, and I'm not a camera person. I'm not quite sure why I paused there for so long. Sometimes people come by and say hi. Ooh, over here we have electric, which is awesome. So they have to wire and bend conduit and put in an electrical box, and it all has to work in 2 days. These are some of the awesome folks, those students. Like, we have great friends and great students, awesome cheerleaders, because when the students are competing, they can actually walk around, cheer on the friends from their states, also have a chance to trade pins. But what I like is the opportunity that some students might be competing in culinary, have a moment off, come over into the construction world and say, that looks pretty cool. I think I might be down for that. So again, I'm showing all the amazing vendors and sponsors it takes. In front of us right now, we're seeing one of the prize tables for the competition. And this competition, I think, is incredibly hard. I don't know electric, and what they're able to pull off in a few days is pretty impressive. And one thing that I find very impressive is, if you're on a job site, sometimes the trades don't clean up after themselves. But part of this competition is that students not only compete, do all this, but then the next day they come back, break it down, and clean it up, which I think is also very important to get into the practice of. That you're not always having a tool in your hand, or maybe sometimes that tool is a broom. Over here, oh gosh, this was, well, real quick, we had to pan back over to Delta Faucets. Delta Faucets crafted my earrings from their 3D printer that I'm absolutely in love with. Behind me, we did pass another electric, and that was going to be for commercial wiring and industrial. And right now we're seeing the carpentry competition. This also, oh, I love it so much. Students have 1 day to complete the structure you're seeing in front of us. They got the blueprints that morning, and it's going to be not only wood, but metal stud framing. They don't have a miter saw. They only have a circular saw. They do not have a compressor. This is all hand hammered, which is incredibly difficult. And you can see down below, there are some folks, those are parents. These are their teachers cheering them on. It's highly encouraged to get that cheering section, because this is terrifying. I had a camera crew following me around for 5 years, and that stressed me out. But realistically, I cannot imagine performing the level of skill that these students are in such a short amount of time. And panning back over, I was actually stopped right now by one of the teachers, and he wanted to show off and props to one of his students, one of the young ladies over there that I got to meet later, actually, and get her autograph, which was pretty cool. He was very proud that his student had made it this far, and not only made it, but has already received career opportunities. She's still a junior in high school, and there are companies looking to hire her and put her in an apprenticeship. So this is, it starts the ball rolling in a lot of different areas. It's not just, it's not just hanging out and working with tools. It's much more. This is giving the students the opportunity to start growing their network at a very early age. What's pretty cool about this national competition is with the shutdown of COVID, all of the competitors here, or at least 99% of them, this was their very first time. And so it's an overwhelming experience. I call it stimulation overload. You know, the first day you see a bunch of students walking around, they look like deer in the headlights, and it's just a lot to take in. And by the end of the week, they're just exhausted. And so some awesome other fans. And what's great is I'm a big fan too of families coming to support their older brothers and sisters. And so this young lady here, her older brother was actually competing, so the parents wanted to get a picture. I've been able to see them, I believe, on social media a few times. So again, it's a great atmosphere all the way around, very positive, because we want these students and competitors to know and understand that, look, you're skilled, you're awesome, but the community too, we really want you to be a part of, because, oh my goodness, it's a big thing. So again, we're still walking around the carpentry competition. This, I think, is incredibly hard. And this is earlier in the day. Just had to take a pause because all of the sponsors to make this happen, it's humongous, especially right now with the cost of lumber and products. It's so intense that we used to have a competition called appliance repair, but we couldn't get appliances. So folks like this have stepped up and really helped cut and alleviate the cost, because obviously these products are expensive, but there's really no other way to teach and practice this craft without having hands-on materials. Now let's see, at the end of the day, which I believe this competition ended at 3 o'clock, the students will then come back the next day and break everything down. They also had activities in the evening. And so there was competition during the day, but there was an opening ceremony at the State Farm Center. The next night, Flo Rida, who is a great rapper, and I'm bummed I missed the concert, also performed for the students. And then the last night they had a few, they took over Olympic Park and had vendors and food trucks and games, and just a way for kids to decompress. But again, give them the opportunity to network, which is the most important part of this experience. So, oh my goodness, I'm happy I was able to take you all on a tour of Just Building A for the SkillsUSA Nationals in Atlanta 2020. If you're around next year, it's highly recommended that you come join us to check out also buildings B and C, where there will be robotics. We have, oh my gosh, culinary, cosmetology, aerospace, marina, healthcare, public safety. And so I truly believe that this is a great organization to be involved in. And what if your school does not have a SkillsUSA chapter in it? There are a few things that you can do. You can go to skillsusa.org and look at where our local chapters, also get in contact with your state director. And then who knows, maybe you can start a chapter of your own. It really is, I am not sponsored by them. I truly fell in love with the group years ago, because for a long time, people would ask what I did. And I said, I work in construction. And they would look me up and down and say, you work in construction? The first time I went to a national competition, a bunch of students approached me and said, what do you do? I said, I work in construction. And their faces lit up. And they say, I work in HVAC and I work in automotive. Do you have a pin to trade? And that's when I knew that I found my friends. And so another option too to get involved in careers is go to constructionready.org, where there are lots of programs starting up all over the state of Georgia, I believe also Alabama and Florida. So kind of taking over that southern sector, which is awesome. It's going to be a great fast-paced boot camp to get you set up for a career in the trades. So friends, that's it. That's about all I have to say for this awesome lunchtime. I hope you all have the greatest rest of your afternoon. And again, if you want to check out further videos on the competition, feel free to check them out on my Facebook page, Kayleen McCabe anything. So, all right, friends, I look forward to seeing you in the future time. Bye.